Hello and welcome to Conversations. I'm Dr. David Dobson, and today my guest is Dr. Inci Akkus. Inci is a consultant and transformation specialist with over 2 decades of international experience across various sectors, including pharmaceutical, MedTech, and manufacturing. She recently earned her PhD in political science from University of Antwerp, and today we will be discussing her research on the political challenges of intellectual property protection for foreign medtech firms in China. Inchi, it's a great pleasure to have you on my show.
Thank you, David. And thank you for having me. And I'm really excited to share my insight and my PhD result.
Inchi, you have an impressive academic background with international education experience from universities in London, St. Gallen, Antwerp, Cologne, and Boston. How did your global academic journey shape your PhD topic?
I get that question a lot because it seems like I'm collecting academic degrees. Yes, as I'm a consultant, I work abroad. I'm barely at home. So I decided, I made my decisions to have a lot of academic studies, to educate myself, to invest into my own education. So what I did is I was focusing on the key pillars of business. Business is technology, business is running business, MBA, having a law degree, having contract negotiations, which I did in Harvard, and having the PhD on top, which is actually a combination of all my previous studies, having the IP and the innovation sector, having the business strategic part, and law, and now politics, to have a full bouquet of different knowledge and researchable insights.
Very impressive.
Thank you.
Inchi, your PhD dissertation was sparked by a simple conversation you heard from executives. What was
Yes.
that conversation that prompted you to dive deep into this topic?
Actually, I'm supporting various industries and backgrounds, but I do have some medtech companies where I think medtech is a really IP-rich industry, and I recognize that my medtech counterparts are not paying too much attention into Chinese strategy. So I had my discussion with them. We had some strategic alignment. It was about IP and IP enforcement, and they were like, Inji, you cannot do anything in China. Nothing. There is nothing you can do. It's just part of the game. Just calculate it into the prices and we are fine. And I don't like that. Being a business manager means you solve a problem. You don't accept the status quo. That was itching me. So I turned to academics and I was like, there must be something. So I tried to educate myself and I recognized there is really nothing, nothing for MedTech. There is broad paper on IP and legal systems and so on, but nothing actionable for my business counterparts to tell them and say, hey, if you want to go to China, you are a medtech company, pay attention for this and that. And that is where my journey started. That I said, hey, that would be something I would like to concentrate the next 7 years about and earn my PhD.
Wonderful. Just to make sure that the viewers also know what MedTech sector is, can you just quickly give a brief overview
Of
what
course,
is on MedTech sector?
MedTech, it's medical equipment or medical technology, which implies everything coming from a heart surgery stand or coming from everything you want to implant into a body. It's actually hardware where you do it's for how do you call it, for surgeries, and it has a high impact on patient risk. We can talk about both. No, we can talk about implants which are going into a body, but even technology, something like, I don't know, an X-ray system or something like that belongs to MedTech as well, because it's used in medical treatments and to help people on chronic disease and stuff like that. Of course, there are different categories, but I'm talking now about the high-end technology part.
Yeah, broadly speaking. Thank you. Inchi, what key political and strategic factors are crucial for medtech firms to understand about IP protection in China?
I think the key outstanding factor is IP in China is not a pure legal problem. It's an economic construct. It is something where you contribute to the economic or local embedded system of the industry you are in. And I think firms need to understand that. A lot of firms do misunderstand and equal, like, I have a strong patent somewhere in the world, maybe even in China, and so I get a strong enforcement mechanism. This is not the case. The IP landscape or the law landscape in China is fragmented. That comes from the political systems we are in. You do have Beijing and Shanghai, which are really strong cities. But you do have smaller cities as well there. And if you put your medical company into one of these smaller cities where it's less evolved, you do not face the same enforcement mechanism as you do in Beijing or Shanghai. And if people do not understand that you need to have a local embedded knowledge about the system and the surrounding mechanism, they will fail in China. And that is exactly what I was studying and exactly what I found out.
Very interesting. So how does regional embeddedness and local government affairs competence help foreign companies, and why is this more effective than national level lobbying?
I think national lobbying is like it is for the national well-being of the entire country. I think that is nothing. I think it's different from Germany or European countries, but there are other countries as well which have a similar structure. So what is important is that we do understand that on national level, you do have the tone, setting the tone and having the natives or the narrative set, but the enforcement or the operational delivery is happening on a regional level, on a more local level. And that is exactly where you need to attack. If you want to enforce your law of a regional level, it doesn't help to go to Beijing and lobby there for more enforcement, because they say, hey guys, we do have the laws in place. No, you just need to use the local courts. You need to use the local system and fight for your rights. And that is exactly where most companies don't go that way, because they think it's too expensive, it takes too long, and they want to have it more fixed on this national level and try to force Beijing to put a foot on the ground and tell the regional levels, which are strongly contributing from the benefits of infringement cases, or not the cases, but the infringement products, and tell them, hey, close down these factories and these shops. Yes, your people maybe get unemployed, and yes, you maybe don't get the same tax revenue, but here is an international company who's asking and demanding that you close down your economic power horse. That's not going to happen. And I think that is pretty normal if we look into economic development in the past, even in European countries or in American, into America, it was completely the same. We see the same development and evolvement structure. And it's just that they are a little bit more behind us for the time being, at least in the rural areas. And they will shortly close up. And then I think IP infringement will be a completely different story, even in China.
Can you share an example of a blind spot you uncovered in your research on IP protection in China, and how firms can overcome it?
I have 3 dominant cases from MedTech area where I refer to in my paper, where I said exactly what I found out exactly what I just said. There were 3 cases. We do have one system, but 3 different cases and 3 different outcomes. And this was strongly influenced by their own strategy. Most of them, the failed cases, they just relied on that they have IP protection in Europe and they had enforcement in Europe. So they blindly thought they just copy it to China and will get the same rights. And they failed. The second thing is then, of course, that we do have a different, another one which just go to Beijing because they just want to talk to the national companies or the national authorities, assuming they're a big company having 50 million revenue or something like that, which makes them something special in China. So I would consider that political due diligence is something which is not working very well from that perspective. And in addition, I call it in my paper something like international arrogance. Maybe it's a little strong, but I say that a lot of companies assume because they are that big in Europe or that big in America that China needs to bend and be happy that they do run business there. And maybe that should have worked in 1970 or 1990, but it doesn't work in 2025. That's not going to fly anymore.
mm,
I think the biggest finding or the biggest value I find in my paper is
mm,
that you need to consider or you need to understand Chinese 5 years plan. You need to be aware of what China wants in the next 5 to 10 years.
mm,
Otherwise, you cannot politically engage with the authorities if you don't understand their interests. And I think that
mm,
is one of the key blind spots I found in my paper.
very interesting. Inchi, for your research, you conducted 44 expert interviews. Uh, could you share what you learned from these interviews?
44 that was even hard to tackle. Now, I don't know, I tried to engage over 200 people, really representative cases or people who contribute into my paper. Unfortunately, I was not able to win anybody from the political authority, so the CPC party or something. That was really a pity, and that I call like a limitation in my paper. But I had a lot of rejection. And I think the
Mm,
rejection is telling itself. But
mm,
I would still consider, and I'm very, very thankful for everybody who contributed into my paper. I had so many fruitful discussions. They were so diverse, which made the evaluation a little bit harder because if you do
mm,
have so different parties and engaging, it was like there was no middle ground. You either hate or you like China. No? And
mm,
I would consider that
interesting.
the majority of my 44 people were really more on the supportive area of China, and we're really sharing a lot of mistakes we do from Western or foreign businesses. And the thing I learned in a chronological order was that a lot of companies bend backwards, which doesn't work anymore. They go there just to make money. But we do have in 2025 more geopolitical problems or
Mm,
pressure. They rely mostly on their home country, but the home country they are with their own interests. So, and on
mm,
the other side, we expect businesses to run successful businesses in China to make a lot of money. And so they're in a political dilemma. And that
mm,
was one of the country key parts I found in
mm,
my paper
mm,
when I learned from the interview partners that they said, "Hey guys,
mm,
we are not able to run politics in China, and we don't
mm,
want to. We are no politicians. We just
mm,
want to make money. We are, how do you call it,
mm,
assessed by making money." Because companies need to show revenue and incomes and a return of invest. So, and that is actually where I came up with the idea of having the governmental affairs. No? So, because you need to have a strong partner on the ground who does the political engagement part for you. Because if
mm,
you are not able to run political affairs or
mm,
political engagement, and you are just focusing operational management, it won't work in China. You can
mm,
make your money, you can
mm,
win your money, but if you talk about IP enforcement and changing or enforcing the law, it won't work.
mm. Very interesting. Inchi, while your research focuses on the MedTech sector, you have suggested that your findings can be applied more broadly. How can the lessons from your work be applied to other industrial operating in similar environments like pharmaceutical or manufacturing?
Um, I think MedTech is one of the strongest regulated market in the world. There are other
Mm,
strongly regulated markets as well, but I think MedTech is one of the strongest. Having
mm,
it on China's 5 years plan make it even more complex, or maybe even more regulated, more controlled and monitored. Which
mm,
means that if I find in my paper working strategies and working engagement techniques or mechanism, I
mm,
am pretty sure that less regulated and less occupied
mm,
industries can just benefit from it. And
mm,
another key aspect is, I guess, that I'm even supporting some of the key findings of different academic research before me, which are conducted in a different industry. So I see that there are some similarities, and I think that I strongly believe that my contribution to practitioners is given even for other industries.
Inchi, what is one key message you hope to convey to executives currently facing IP challenges in China?
I think my strongest advice is, guys, never give up. So there
Mm,
must be a solution. And I think personally, from my own experience, I think China is very interested in still running business with foreign firms. They are still interested in learning from us, and it should be mutual. We want to learn from them as well. We want to have access to the market. So I think consider IP not as not as a legal problem, but on a local operational problem, and try to engage these local authorities, the local high profiles into your team to support your contribution to the local network. Now, it helps companies a lot if you do have high political profiles helping you to gain a voice in China to show that you contribute to China's growth. And I think that is, I think it should be mutual. It should be a high interest for us, especially as the European markets are stagnating, and they are on hold. They are not growing as much. There is still an opportunity to grow to these Chinese market, and China is the bridge to the Asian market. So I would not try to lose hold on that.
Very well. Inci, how does a deeper understanding of IP protection in China benefit patients, firms, and society?
Actually, patients are asking for it. Now, patients are asking for high-end technology and high-end treatments, and I think that this is really in high interest of Chinese people to have the best treatment and the best opportunities to get their chronic disease treated in the right way. I think even hospitals, they want to have high-end devices, so I think there would very interested in still gaining insights from the highest and less innovation products. The only problem which brings to the market is that we are international foreign firms. So importing our products into China is, of course, linked to a higher price. And that is a sensitive topic everywhere in the world, even in China, that everybody wants to reduce the healthcare costs, because the cost for the system is getting too expensive. People are getting older, treatments are getting more expensive and taking longer. And that is, of course, some aspects we need to consider when you do run MedTech business in China.
Great. Inci, after 15 years of academic pursuits, how does it feel like to be officially done with collecting degrees? And I know the most recent one is your PhD from University of Antwerp. What's next for you?
No more degrees. That is at least something I need to promise my family. They said, Inci, can you please stop? It took long enough, and it's enough. What is next? I did some jokes and went to ChatGPT and said, hey, what's next? And I gave them some I don't know, some options, and they were like, are you kidding me? And that's really a quote from ChatGPT. Like, are you kidding me? You do have the highest possible degree. You will not go down and do something like that and that because it doesn't contribute. So I think my next chapter will be really trying to make use of my knowledge, see how my knowledge evolves. I would love to go to conferences, share my ideas, get my ideas challenged, help other students in their research on, let's say, similar topics, or maybe stepping on my research and developing more ideas. I could consider some white papers, some playbooks, something like that. And what I really learned from one of my interviews, which I really like, is the idea maybe reaching out to Turkish colleagues, because one of my key findings was the Turkish cannot lobby in China. So I said, hey, maybe since I have my Turkish background as well, maybe there is a market for my knowledge. But let's see. Currently, I try to have a white paper drafted, and I try to write it with my tutors and my supervisors from the past, from my journey. Let's see how far that will go.
Thank you, Inci, for joining us and sharing your valuable insights. We wish you all the best.
Yes, thank you once again, David, for having me.